everyone, my name is Miranda, and today I'm here to review Hollow City by Ransom Riggs, which is the second book in the Miss Peregrine trilogy. And this book, I have to say, I was really looking forward to it. Miss Peregrine's kind of left off on a point where literally anything could happen because they were rowing away in the boat. They had this idea in mind, but not necessarily a concrete plan of what they were going to do. So this book literally could have gone in every single direction, and I had no idea, no expectations for going into it, what was going to happen. There's actually an interview in the back of this with Ransom Riggs, and he said the same thing basically. He's like, these kids could have gone anywhere when they were in the boat, so writing this book was very difficult for him, and overall I feel like it was a solid attempt, I guess. I mean, it's a good book. There's nothing necessarily wrong with it. It was entertaining. It built upon the characters very well. But my biggest issue with it is that nothing really big ever happens. Nothing ever feels like fulfilled in this book, I guess is what I would say. Like the payoffs all seem like they're going to come in the third and final book, and that's frustrating. This is one of those books I feel like where it's a solid sequel, but the only problem is that it contributes nothing to the story overall. Like, you don't really need this book. You could go from this book to maybe like splitting this, adding some of it to the first book, adding it to the second book, and making it 2 books. This is just a gateway book to get us from Miss Peregrine's to Library of Souls, and most of it is them honestly traveling and running away and just always on the run. Like, they never have that set goal in mind. They're trying to get somewhere, but they don't know if that place is actually going to be there when they get it. And I mean, like I said, it was a solid addition. It's just that it's frustrating when, like, you realize you're waiting and waiting for the payoff to come, and then suddenly you're 300 pages in the book and the payoff still isn't there. It's super frustrating. At the same time, though, this book, like I said, was really good. I really enjoyed it. If it weren't a second book in the series, I feel like I probably would have given it 5 stars, but I ended up giving it 4 just because of that whole, like, waiting for something to happen, and then, like, halfway you realize, oh, nothing has still happened. Like, I'm enjoying this book, but nothing really has happened that's, like, super substantial or anything like that. I think we did build upon the characters pretty well. I mean, we get to see Jacob and Emma in kind of leadership roles among these kids, which I like. Now that Miss Peregrine is gone, Jacob and Emma are kind of the 2 in charge. We get to see Emma being so badass. Like, we knew from the first book how badass she was, but like this one we're literally seeing her take charge. We see how all the kids kind of look up to her for advice and for help and to kind of figure out like what they should be doing, what they are doing, and it was just really nice to see Emma and Jacob kind of as equal footing, equal fronts for this whole family that Jacob's kind of like fallen into. Also got some good backstory and lore on the whole history of whites and peculiars and hollows and all that, and that was interesting, but again, it felt like none of it was actually like this information we got wasn't going to be useful or really helpful until the 3rd book, because we kind of get all this information thrown at us and then nothing really happens out of it. Mostly it was just the kids kind of fine-tuning their peculiar abilities, which nothing's particularly wrong with that, but it's just like we already knew what their abilities were. So I mean, a couple kids, like, you're like, oh wow, I didn't realize their abilities were that extensive, or like they could do that much with it, but overall it's just kind of like it's stuff we already knew that we're seeing. We've seen these kids, we've seen their powers, it's cool, it's fantastic, but we saw it all in the first book. One thing I have to say for this book, unlike Miss Peregrine's, the pictures, I actually didn't mind them this time. In Miss Peregrine's, I felt like they just took away from the story because it was like you're telling the story and then all of a sudden someone's like, hey, look at this picture I found. Whereas in this one, I felt like it was more authentic to the story. Like, it was like you're just getting a description of something that Jacob's seen rather than someone being like, hey, look at this picture, and then there's a picture to match it. And I know Ransom said his process was a little different this time in that he kind of got the pictures after writing the story, so he looked for pictures that would help the story as opposed to writing the story around the pictures. And for me, I think that worked better because it definitely, you could tell that it wasn't like he found a picture and then was trying to work the story around it. It just felt more authentic and more like it flowed better with the narrative of the story, so I appreciated that more. And I'm super excited to read Library of Souls. It's just overall, like I said, this book, it didn't really, at the end of the day, when you're done reading it, like, yes, you enjoyed it, yes, it was fun, but it didn't do anything. Like, it didn't add much to the story aside from the end, which of course was a cliffhanger when you get like the really cool thing that you're like, oh my gosh, but it's not going to pay off till the 3rd and final book. So I enjoyed it, but I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars just because of the whole like not not paying off. Like, it was just one of those books, it's just a book that was written to get you to the next book, which is super unfortunate because Ransom's a great writer. This was a great book. I really loved getting to read all the characters and everything, but like I said, when I closed the book, I'm like, okay, but that didn't give me any new information. It just made me want to read the next book. Like, it didn't do anything in itself for me, and I feel like there are a lot of sequels like that, so it wasn't hugely uncommon. It was just kind of disappointing for such a peculiar book to seem so unpeculiar and very mundane. So I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. Like I said, if you have read Hollow City or Miss Peregrine's or Library of Souls, please feel free to leave your thoughts about the book down below in the comments, spoiler free of course, since I have not read the 3rd book yet. And also make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel down below to be told when I make all sorts of new videos, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!